All right, hey guys, what's going on? My name's Chris Huckes, and this is your best life defined. Let's go ahead and get right into it. So, I used to think when I was younger and I was first starting out that, that rich people just had it made. They just, they were inherited what they had, or there was some special gift that they had that just the rest of us don't have. And so I would always think, well, their life is easy and they just hang out and it's carefree and they do what they do. And what I've come to learn is that that's not exactly the case at all. Most truly and immensely successful people, and I'm not just talking about monetarily. I'm just talking about overall people who are living their life, their best life, or and rich people like Oprah Winfrey or Will Smith or Donald Trump. I mean, he's immensely successful, and we know his story, regardless of whether you like him or you don't. There are people that are innately skilled at acquiring success, at acquiring success. And when I think about my life, so I had a rough childhood, and I've mentioned this before. And for about 5 or 6 years, I was basically on my own. My mom was in my life from the standpoint of she provided me with a place to stay, and I had food. But as far as any kind of like guidance or nurturing or anything like that, no, her life was chaos. I mean, she had like 5 relationships after my mom and dad divorced, and it was just craziness. I moved all over the country, but for all the tragedy that you might think that came with that, and there was a lot of struggle. There was a lot of struggle with that, but I learned something about myself. I learned how to struggle. I learned how to face those hurdles that I faced and to overcome them. I remember there was a time in Huntington Beach, California, when for some reason, we just pulled up and we moved to Huntington Beach. I think it was, I don't even know when it was, like 1974, 75, something like that. And we pulled in. We were staying on the Pacific Coast Highway in a hotel right next to it. There was my brother, myself, my mom, and my stepdad, and we were surviving on peanut butter sandwiches. And I remember she'd buy bread and peanut butter, and we'd get a peanut butter sandwich. That's what we survived on. And I remember scrounging money. I'd look around all over the place. I'd search every nook and cranny I could find because I wanted a Yahoo soda. I don't know if you ever had a Yahoo soda. I haven't had one in years, but that was the treat. And I'd be digging in the car seats and looking in ashtrays and any place I could find 35 cents to buy me that soda. And that was just kind of that survival thing. If I'm going to be able to do something, I've got to find a way to do it. That's just the way it is. And I think that's a quality that's carried throughout my life, even now. If you think about it, I know what success is, what success looks like in a podcast. I have to be interesting. I have to be engaging. I have to give you value. I have to give you a message that resonates with you. I have to give you a message you can use to accomplish the goal that I'm saying by listening to my podcast you'll be able to do, right? I mean, it's going to suck if I sat there and we just looked at the camera. I just like, well, how you doing? I'm good. Yeah. So anyway, no, you have to overcome, and those are skills. And I think people who are successful, or at any level, people who are have the ability to make decisions anytime they want, that they can change the direction of their lives or recreate their lives if they're inclined to do so. There is an innate ability, and it's just this innate skill to be successful. And success and the action of achieving success is actually a skill when you think about it. Back to my wife and I, when we got married, we were young, we didn't know anything, and we certainly didn't have any skills. Or so we thought. But my wife came from a similar background as I did as far as a childhood. At an early age, she was responsible for taking care of her younger brother. She was responsible for keeping the house clean. She would have to fix supper at like 12 years old, 13 years old. So she, like I did, was able to, just navigate this thing. And there was just it was a not natural action involved with everything we did. We just looked at what needed to be done, and then we didn't think about it or wonder about it. We just took the action that we needed to accomplish that, and that's where some people struggle. I mean, if you have a problem defining goals and then achieving goals, it's not the defining and the achieving. It's not deciding what's wrong with your life and then it's the ability to take action regardless of what you're doing, and those skills are learned. And the way I learned my skills was I faced adversity, and it wasn't because of my choice, it was because of my life. And then I overcame it. When I was living in Denver and my mom was doing her thing with Richard, my first stepdad. I was walking down Colfax Avenue in Denver, and I was going to a nearly all black elementary school. In case you're watching the video, was not a good looking kid. All right. I was not I had this quasi red hair. I had freckles on my face. My hair was just curly enough to look ridiculous. And of course, I was a poor kid. I didn't know anything but what my mom had taught me, and I just wore the clothes she gave me. I didn't have any sense of fashion or how do I look or how does my hair look. I just knew that, you get dressed in the morning, you go to school. And even then, I remember I used to walk by it was a Red Baron. It was like a burger joint. I don't know if it's a the Red Barn burger joint. That's what it was on Colfax. And if I could scrounge enough money over the course of the week, picking up dimes and quarters here and there, at some point during the week, I would actually get to stop on the way home and I'd buy me a burger and I'd eat that burger before I got home. And again, that was that survival instinct. That's that thing where you just, you know what you got to get done or what you want to get done. You just got to find a way to do it. And this sacrifice, the struggle that I faced in my life, it created this. Was I nervous about doing podcasts? Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I don't want to let you down. I don't want to disappoint you. I don't want to waste your time. Of course, there's a lot of pressure involved in this. But you see where I'm at, right? You see how this is progressing. Go back and look at the first one. And it's just going to get better because I'm learning how to do it. I'm learning how to overcome those struggles, both the physical and the psychological struggles. The physical ones are learning how to use this equipment, learning how to set the audio on this video, learning how to frame the shot. Those are all struggles, and I've looked at several different positions and things that I've done, but I've overcome that. And then the emotional side of it, doing anything is first and foremost the fear of failure. I don't want to fail. I did it again. I don't want to fail, right? And then the other thing is just not believing that people think you're worthy of it, or that your story is important, or in my case, that I'm actually giving you value. But I continue because continuing to take action is the only way to achieve that goal. And that's a skill set. You have to have a strong level of endurance for facing that struggle and sitting in a position that you're uncomfortable with for a long time. And then just keep pushing and pushing and pushing. And, I mentioned rich people. For those self-made people, self-made millionaires, and those self-made stars, the thing that we don't see is the other side, the struggle side of it. What we get to see, and even with me, as I get more podcasts out there and I get a larger following and people start realizing that I'm not bullshit, I'm not asking you for $1 million. This isn't a get rich quick scheme for me. You're going to see a polished, finished result. You're not going to see the ums and the cuts and all the crap that I went through and I continue to go through in the early stages of this endeavor. I am going to be a podcaster, and it's going to be a podcast that ultimately helps you and people like you live your best life. And that's where I'm committed, and I'm not stopping. But you won't see that. If you jump into my podcast, people will jump into my podcast a year from now and they'll be like, oh yeah, I know Chris Jaquez. He's got this podcast. He's cool. He just sits there and talks, and he's got some really great ideas. You're not going to know or have that familiarity with where I was when I first started. You're not. So people just think, well, he's rolling. He did it. And that's part of the reason I'm sharing this with you, is because this isn't easy. This is a struggle. And the reason that I believe I'm able to overcome and continue to push forward is because I have a strong set of skills for success. I have a high tolerance for being uncomfortable and for doing what sucks, like sitting here in my RV in a mountain community, setting up lights every day and setting up my camera and looking at those videos that I just don't like, or listening to that podcast where I just stumble over my words and I don't enunciate correctly. And I just push past my tendency to say, nope, that's not good enough, and I'm not posting it. The standard is now you get what I can give you. And just so you know, if this isn't good enough, I'm going to keep working at it, and eventually it will be. But until then, you're just going to have to put up with some of the crap parts of this. But that's skills for success. That is how you achieve success. It doesn't matter what I feel about this or how I feel about the process or my emotional state at the time. I gave a commitment to you. I committed to you that I would deliver a message to you every day, hopefully that will help you live your best life. And that's what I'm doing. Like it or not, that's the level of commitment that I have. And for me to do that requires a certain amount of skill and endurance for being uncomfortable and doing what you don't necessarily feel like doing. That's that action part of that 3-step process I mentioned in the last podcast. So, I don't know. So what if you were to rate your success skill, your skill set for success, your ability to accomplish your goals, that's going to dictate where you are on this ladder. Or do you commonly make goals that you don't achieve, or do you not even make goals beyond the smaller ones, like the insignificant ones, like maybe have enough money to get some beer, or well, we're going to go to the park and hang out? Because that's the other thing is I don't know if you'll get it if you haven't picked up on it already, but I've done a lot of stuff. I was a mortgage broker. I was a general contractor, a concrete contractor. I did graphic design. I did website design. I've done all kinds of stuff in my life. And even now, this video editing and the video stuff, the skills I've acquired now are not something I just learned. These were built up from endeavors that I tried a long time ago, or started a long time ago with my computer skills and my photography skills, and what it's culminated into this. But what skill sets do you have? Are you continuing to grow as an individual? Are you continuing do you wake up every day, and even though you've got to grind out the life you've picked for yourself, are you actually focusing on something that's going to enhance your life or enhance your the experience that you have? I mean, what do you do every day that actually makes you go, yeah? You know, what do you do every day that actually gets you excited, where no matter how your day goes, at least there's a point in that day when you get to submerge yourself in something that just makes you feel good, just makes you feel like, yeah, you know, no matter what other shit I was in, this shit is good right now. I mean, if you can get into that point, if you can find yourself in that position, that's the perfect position, because when it comes down to it, that builds the energy to fuel the next action. That builds their energy for you to make sure that tomorrow you do it again, because that's big shit. That's big stuff right there. So, but if you don't have skills for success and you seem to fail on your goals, go back to that three-point plan I gave on the previous podcast. 3 steps for success. I mean, it comes down to define your life. What is your life? What in your life are you not enjoying as much as you'd like to, or maybe you just don't enjoy? I mean, it's a 1 to 10 scale. Anything you spend your time doing, whether it's dealing with your partner, whether it's some chore you have around the house, it might even be your job. It doesn't matter what thing in your life you're talking about. When you rate that on a scale of 1 to 10, how does it rate? If it rates a 5 and you can find something else you'd rather use those resources for, then what are you wasting your time for? Now it's time to make the plan. And now it's time for you to go ahead and make the plan and to define in your mind that this is your goal, and you own it. You live it. It's going to be part of you until it happens, and then you take action on it. And if you don't have those skills innate to you and you're just coasting along in your autopilot life, then you've got to find something you can accomplish. You've got to get engaged and find something where you can pick it, you can define it, and then you can take action on it, and you can win it. Because once you get that win, once you get that win, it is on. I mean, it is, as they say, it is on like Donkey Kong. Okay? Because truly it is. I mean, I wasn't prospering was I a hard worker? Yeah. Did I buy a house at 20 years old and start remodeling it and doing all those things I did? Yeah, I did all that. But that was all survival stuff. I didn't actually start rocking my life until after I stabilized my income by struggling through that horror of actually working a full-time job, going to college full-time, and then volunteering 16 hours at the sheriff's department. That was pure hell. But once I got past that, and I had stabilized our income, and I had experienced that accomplishment helped a bunch, because prior to my decision to go back to school, I didn't even think I was going to go. It wasn't even a thought in my mind. I was just set. And then my wife tells me she's pregnant and we're going to have another baby, and all of a sudden my perspective changed. But once I stabilized those base level goals, man, then it was on. Man, I was a karate instructor, and then I was a self-defense instructor at the sheriff's department, and I'm learning about website design, and I'm learning about how to create domain names and save domain names, and now I was a mortgage broker and learned about databases, and I mean, it just continued. Photography and artwork, being an artist and drawing, and digital oil painting was something I did for quite a while. Those are those endeavors where you just jump into it, and the reason you jump into it is because you don't know it, and because it's going to add value to your life somehow. And I've loved every bit of it, and I'm glad to say that it brought me right here to this point. But it was those successes. It was that primary success of stabilizing our income, and for me to finally realize that the only reason I wasn't living the life of my counterparts, of people I went to school with who thought I should be in prison, is because I hadn't made the plan. I hadn't defined what my life was going to be like, or what I wanted my life to be like, and then make a plan to achieve it, and then I just hadn't taken action. And in my case, it was only when things got so bad that I didn't have a choice that action occurred on that particular thing of going back to school and changing careers. But that success built on what you see now. I'm not worried about failing. I fail all the damn time. I've failed more times than, geez, I mean, I bet I failed at thousands of things I've tried. And failure is a part of success. Do we want to fail? No, but failure sure builds an appreciation for getting shit right sometimes, I mean, like this podcast. You don't see me stumbling. You know why? Because I'm not working at this anymore. I'm talking from the heart. These are experiences I've had, and this is things I believe. And the goal is a simple one. I want you to wake up one day and be able to say, damn, he was right. And I want you to sit down at your computer and say, hey, Chris, thanks for putting the effort in because it helped. And you might not be moved in the slightest. You might not be moved or inclined to do anything on your life. And I'm all good with that, because someone will. Someone will catch what I'm saying, and someone is going to say, he's right. Why in the hell am I spending all my time busting my ass so I can grow old? Hopefully I'll retire, but be too old to do anything. Why aren't I starting my adventure now? Why would I wait? That's craziness, And they're going to live their best life because of it. So if you happen to be in that group, God, I hope you are. But if you miss it, that's fine. It'll be here, and I'll be here, and it's not a judgment thing. I'm just, like I said, my goal is to share what I know and what has worked for me to the world before I die, because the biggest tragedy in my life would be if I die before I get it all down, before I take the time and take the effort to give something of quality to you, and maybe even something you can pass on to your kids. So, I'm not really trying to sell it, but that's really the motivation behind all this. It doesn't matter where this goes. And I've said it before, I do know that people who give get, and I'm just trying to give you something worth having. You deserve to wake up every day knowing that, yeah, you might have to grind out that job, you might have to do that shit you're doing, but in the end, at the end of the day, there's some great shit waiting for you, and you're just that much closer to getting it because of the struggle you face. So anyway, I just thank you. I want to thank you for your time. I want to thank you for stopping by and listening to my bullshit. I believe in it, and I've applied it in my own life, and it works, and I hope you'll do the same. So until next time, just remember, today is your day. Make it a good one.